Hello, my name is Andrea Coleman and today I'm going to demonstrate for you a pair of Artfelt Wristwarmers. For this demonstration I'm using two completely different colours so that you can see the layers very clearly. First, divide your fleece into two. If you need to, use digital scales to weigh your fleece. It can be quite approximate, otherwise do it visually. So put the one half to one side, we'll use that later, and then with the second half divide into three equal amounts. Take one and put the other two away for a bit later. Then your silk, divide that into two, it can be quite approximate, and put the other half away with the first half of your fleece. Then we'll lay down the silk straight onto your resist. If you like, you can mark the middle of your resist and the two ends about 2 centimetres in. When you've placed all the silk where you want to see it, take very thin amounts of fleece, pull them out and place them on your resist. Thin is best. Try to keep within your marker, but let these fibres go over. We'll be using them later. Don't be frightened of patting it and getting rid of the static. Once you've finished your first layer, pat it down, get rid of the static, make sure the two ends are free. Then you can start with your second layer, just covering in exactly the same way, but try to keep it within your former, your resist, so that you get the first layer fibres poking out, but this layer, see if you can try to keep them where your resist is. Follow the line if you can. When you've completed layer 2, pat it down and repeat layer 1, pulling the fleece out and laying it on top. Just do exactly the same. Pat down your third layer. Should feel nice and full now. Make up your soapy water. I'll probably use about half this bottle and I'm going to absolutely saturate it. Don't worry too much about the edges because the water will spread. Then get your bubble wrap and press it very firmly on top with your hands, with the bubbles facing downwards, so these bubbles are on top of your work. Get the water going through the fibres. When you've done that for some time, take everything, holding all the parts of your work, and flip it over. So now you can see your former, your resist, your fibres. Keep pressing down, and then we can take the thin plastic off. Now be careful, because sometimes the fibres cling to the edges, so take it carefully off. Put it to one side, we'll need it again. Then repeat the process that we did earlier on with your silk. Lay it on all over. Once you've laid down your silk fibres, we can now start to fold in your fleece that you laid down earlier. If you take the wrist areas and pull them in first, and then work your way along. Very gently lay them in. And stroke them. So it's nice and tight. Don't fold in the ends, just these sides. Now we can take your second lot of fleece, the ones you did earlier, divided in earlier, divide them in 3, and we just exactly repeat what we did before. So starting with layer 1, try this time to keep the fibres within the resist, the shape you've got. Once you've completed layer 1, don't worry about a few fibres that are overlapping your resist. Now we'll repeat layer 2, same thing applies, just try to keep within the resist. Don't worry about the end bits here, we'll be trimming them off later. When you've finished layer 2, repeat layer 1 in exactly the same way. When you've finished layer 3, get your soapy water and saturate it exactly as you did on the other side. We're going to repeat this process. Take your thin plastic, place it on top of your work and press down. When you've pressed down thoroughly, grab all your work firmly, flip it over, peel off the bubble wrap, and again very carefully make sure the fibres don't lift with it. And then we just have to fold in these sides. You can use your thin plastic to help you lift them. So once you've folded in your edges neatly. Get your bubble wrap, place the bubbles down on the wrap, press down, and then grab the whole thing, including the thin plastic, turn it over, and then sprinkle a little bit of soapy water on top, and then with your hands slide up and down across your work. You'll do this for about a minute, and then after a minute start going in this direction, and then turn the whole work around like that, and repeat this for a minute and that for a minute. Once you've completed your 4 minutes, lift up your thin plastic carefully and pinch the fibres. If they lift up very easily like this, then pat them down and carry on and repeat the process for another 4 minutes. On your second 4 minutes, you can be a lot more vigorous and push harder into your work, and it doesn't matter if you just slide with your plastic across your work. So now if you try and pick up individual fibres, they're very hard now to lift up. When that's the case, you can turn your work over and repeat the whole process again. Once you've completed the second side, roll your work up in the roller and the bubble wrap, and then roll for 30 rolls. And then when you've done 30 rolls, turn it round and repeat the process from this end. Once you've done that, you turn it over and repeat on the other side. During the rolling process, you might need a towel, as a lot of your water will come out. At the end of it, you should find that it's very tight to your resist, and it might even be curling up a bit. This is good. So now I'm going to show you how to cut your work. Take your scissors and snip each end. Now you can take the resist out of your work. Straighten it out. So then take it and fold it in half, and now we're going to cut it here like that. Put one to one side, and then put your roller in and start to roll it about. Keep on moving it the whole time. Especially get this ridge, which we can work out. If you need to add a bit more soapy water, then do so. Keep on doing this for a good few minutes. Keep rolling for about 3 to 5 minutes. When you're ready, take the roller out and you can compare it with the one you've done previously. Should look quite a bit smaller. Then you can take it and turn it inside out like that, and you should be able to see any pattern you might have put on. The silk's really dark on this, so you can't really see it, but it would be there. Keep on rolling for a while, and then you can start to test by putting your hand inside and see if it's beginning to get big enough for you. The other things you can do is you can just seal the edges. If you need a bit more soapy water there, seal the edges by rubbing your hand across it. And with the top edge, I like it quite flimsy, and you can pull it apart slightly like that. Keep it fluffy and light. Next step, making the thumb hole. So put your hand inside and work out approximately where you'd like the hole to be. Probably about there for me. So fold it in about 2 to 3 centimetres or a generous inch. Snip absolute tip. You can make a hole bigger, but you can't make it smaller. Even with that tiny hole, we can stretch it. I'm just going to increase it a little bit. I normally go down a little further. It's very, very important that you have a decent gap here and it's strong enough. Then I put a lot of pressure on it, and also you can seal the edges again like you did at the bottom just by rubbing with a bit of extra water. You can always make this hole bigger, but try it on and see how it fits. That probably needs to be a smidgen bigger. To make the wrist slightly smaller, if you've got small hands, you can just rub like this. This will dramatically reduce the area around your wrist. When you're happy with that, repeat the process on your other side. Once you've finished and they're fitting, rinse them very thoroughly, and in the last rinse you can always put a little bit of vinegar. That restores the pH balance. Then put them somewhere to dry and iron them. Well done. Congratulations for finishing your first pair of wrist warmers, and you might like to try something else. Keep looking on my website.